the quantum field is an invisible field of information that exists beyond space and time. There's no people there, there's no bodies there, there's no objects, there's no things, there's no place, and there's not even time. So if you take away all the people, all the bodies, all the things, all the objects, you take away the planets, you take away the moons, you take away the stars, the light from the stars, you take away the galaxies, you take away everything, you're left with a big black space. And that happens to be a field that's rich in frequency and information that we can't perceive with our senses. We can only perceive with our awareness. So as people have the instruction and the proper information, and they begin to strive to put their attention on it, to tune into it, to experience it, to stay present with it moment after moment after moment, every time they begin to pick up more of its subtleties, the experience literally creates the circuits in their brain, because that's what experience does, which means the next time they look for it, they have the circuits in place to perceive it. And if you keep doing this over and over again, you start wiring your brain for the divine. So as people start to connect to that unified field is the energy that governs all the laws of nature, that brings everything into order. So as you connect to it more and more, then you experience more wholeness and more oneness and less separation. So if you experience less separation, then there's less separation between you and your dreams as well. There's less separation between you and the person that's sitting next to you. You experience more oneness. And so as you unfold deeper into that field, you can produce greater effects on the nature of reality because you're moving closer to its origins. So we experience separation when we feel fear. We experience separation when we feel anger and aggression. We experience separation when we feel pain and suffering, because the very chemicals cause us to perceive reality with our senses. And then, of course, if I'm perceiving reality with my senses, there's me here and there's you there. And there's me here and there's my dreams over there. But as we connect to it more and more, as we get closer and closer to it and we experience more of it, then we should be able to produce a greater effect on the nature of reality, because we're more connected to the very field of information that really organizes matter into form. So we're climbing upstream to be able to produce an effect downstream. There's nothing wrong with an emotional reaction. I still have them. I mean, we all do. The question is, how long are you going to have it? That's the real question. And if you can't break that emotional reaction, then it means on some level you must be addicted to that emotion, because an addiction is something you think you can't stop. So imagine then, when you start reacting, most people don't think that they have the ability to stop it, so they don't. They think the person out there is doing it to me, or that situation is creating it. So once we say that, we're victims because we have no control over ourselves. So when we start reacting, the first thing to do is to stop, take a breath, center yourself, bring up an elevated emotion. And I know that a lot of times you don't want to do it because you want to feel angry and you want to feel frustrated and you want to feel fear, because that's the normal reaction. So the first step in any process of change is becoming aware. So you may just say, my gosh, now I'm aware that I'm angry. Now that I'm aware that I'm fearful, that's the first step. The second step is doing something about it. Taking a moment, excusing yourself from the conditions in your life just for a few minutes. Centering yourself. I just did it yesterday. Centering myself, taking a couple breaths, raising my energy, and working with my body. So I don't do that for 4 hours, because it turns out we lose a lot of energy, and we also start downregulating genes that start creating disease. So the second step is really executing a change by creating an elevated state. And so you begin to lower the volume to those survival emotions, and of course you begin to cultivate elevated emotions. And it makes sense that our students who practice this every single day in doing the inner work, it's becoming a skill for them. And we see some students that are able to sustain those states for over an hour at a time, which means they don't have all their attention on their outer world now. They're actually paying more attention to their inner world, and they're not putting all their attention out there, and that's what allows them to catch it when they start feeling a certain way. So you got to practice, just like you just can't go out and hit a tennis ball unless you start practicing. And the more you practice and the more you do the work, the same thing happens with your ability to be able to regulate and change different states. Most people spend the majority of their life living by the memories of the past, and instead of being defined by a vision of the future. I think most people believe in their past more than they believe in their future. I think people are more in love with their past than they are more in love with their future. And they certainly tell the story of their past more than they tell the story of their future. And it's so much easier to forget our vision than to remember it. So why not start the day with remembering who you want to be when you open your eyes? Remember that vision, and then begin to teach your body emotionally what that future feels like before it happens. Now, that kind of goes against how we've been conditioned. We need to get something in order to feel gratitude. Well, what if your whole life you're not creating and you're not, and then nothing's changing? Well, that means you're living in emptiness and lack your whole entire life. So imagine if you finish a meditation and you get up feeling grateful, then you feel like you already have what you've created, and you have less lack or separation. You feel more whole, and so you're less likely to force outcomes and control outcomes in your life because you feel like it's already happened. So starting your day by changing your brain neurologically and neurochemically, and changing your body chemically and genetically to live in the future present instead of the past present, and be able to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. Just get ready, because if you're able to do that, you'll start seeing synchronicities and opportunities and serendipities and coincidences happening in your life, because that's the side effect of a change in energy. It's a side effect of changing our state of being. The first thing I would have people do is to really decide what they want in their life. I mean, that's the first step. Decide what your future could look like, and get clear on what that vision is, and write down the specifics of what you want in your life, whether it's with your family or your career or with a relationship or whatever it is, and get clear on what that vision is of yourself in the future. And then write down the emotions of how you'll feel when it happens. Will you be joyful? Will you be enthusiastic? Will you be filled with energy? Will you love your life and be in the state of constant state of gratitude? And now you have a clear intention and elevated emotion. And every morning when you start your day, before you open your eyes and reach for your cell phone and check your WhatsApp and your texts and your Facebook and your Twitter and your Instagram and your LinkedIn and your emails, before you plug yourself back into your same familiar world, sit there and get very clear on what that future will be like, and begin to emotionally embrace it before it happens. And if you do that properly, you're moving into a new state of being. And then at certain points in your day, just break and ask yourself how you're doing. How am I doing? Am I doing well? Am I losing it? Am I falling from grace? And then recalibrate. And at the end of your day, ask yourself how you did. And if you keep changing your state of being over and over again, your state of being is your personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. And when you start seeing those changes in your life and those synchronicities, the energy and the excitement of the surprise of that event is going to inspire you to create again. And I think that's how we move from victims in our lives to creators of our lives.